drink for your mind. 3 hosts, 3 actors, 3 friends with 3 different perspectives. I'm your host, Rico E Anderson.
I'm your host, Sasha Kerbel.
And I'm your host, Rachelle Henry.
Prepare yourselves for 60 minutes of high voltage conversation.
And get ready to supercharge your brain.
Because it's time for the Lightning Hour! She was born and raised in the Bronx in New York and received her BFA in acting from Long Island University, where she graduated summa cum laude. In college, her portrayal of Ariel in The Tempest earned her an Irene Ryan nomination, where she placed as a first national alternate.
Immediately after college, she embarked on 1 national and 2 regional tours with the Periwinkle National Theater Company and various plays in repertoire with the George Street Playhouse Touring Company in New Brunswick, New Jersey.
Afterwards, she settled back to New York City, where she worked consistently in theater, doing both plays and musical theater throughout the New York and New Jersey area. In New York City, she landed the role of Jay in New York City's off-Broadway hit Mono, which became Critics' Pick of the Week by Time Out New York, Paper Magazine, and New York Magazine.
Having had great success in New York City, she then tried her luck on the West Coast when she was cast in a play at the Old Globe Theater in San Diego. As soon as she got there, she went out on her first audition in Los Angeles, which was for Jim Carrey's Fun with Dick and Jane, starring himself and Téa Leoni. And she nailed it and got the part of Blanca, the nanny of Dick and Jane's son. Then she went on to book a guest star role in the long-running TV drama series NYPD Blue. And that happened to be her second audition.
Today, the list of the films and shows she's been in are endless. Here are just a few of them. How to Get Away with Murder, Grey's Anatomy, The Good Doctor, Castle, Cougar Town, Desperate Housewives, American Housewife, Shameless, NCISLA, SWAT, Criminal Minds, Cold Case, ER, Bones, Love That Girl, Animal Kingdom, Imagination Movers, Strong Medicine, 6 Feet Under the Shield, Anger Management, and Snowfall.
And as we say, those are just some of them. Her studio films, beside Fun with Dick and Jane, include Mother and Child, starring Annette Bening, Jimmy Smits, Kerry Washington, Naomi Watts, and Samuel L. Jackson. Henry Poole is Here with Luke Wilson, George Lopez, Cheryl Hines, and Adriana Barraza. She played a lead role in Fixing Paco, a web series nominated for an Imagen Award 2 years in a row. Her latest work is a lead role in the Netflix hit series Reckoning.
I'm dying of thirst over here.
If only that were true.
How come you're always ignoring me?
Because you don't tip pendejo.
You want the tip? Just gotta ask.
You motherfucker!
Oh, come on, mijito.
That's enough! Time to go.
Introduce you to my daughter-in-law, Carolina. She was married to my son, Dante, the man you murdered.
My condolences. Pa'l carajo con tus condolencias. Whose decision is this?
And does he have a healthcare proxy?
I don't know what that is.
Then when the accident happened, were you on the way to your wedding or on the way back?
We were headed to the wedding.
Marco's parents are the next of kin. They decide.
Maybe he could tell me something about what the hell is going on with you.
15 years and you're still interfering.
15 years and Sophia is still your daughter.
You don't think that I don't miss her? She was better off without me.
Oh, you got that right. You were a goddamn train wreck. She'd be better off if you died.
You know what? You're on your own.
Mrs. Otto, Nurse Chapel, I thought it was strange that all of your children got their shots on their birthdays, so I troubled myself to put in a call to your pediatrician. I think you know where this is headed.
I do. Can we just get to it?
You can't just make up vaccination dates and put them on official school documents. Anna Cat needs a booster today. You have to pull her out of class.
Now?
She could be teeming with disease. Teeming with it.
Nurse Chapel, you are here? I'm gonna need you here.
Casper, baby, come here. The day after I saw him kill my neighbor, This is how I found Casper. A message from Cuchillo not to talk. I never regretted testifying. Until right now.
My house is burning down. You want to make me a suspect?
To be clear, your neighbor saw your car in the driveway all day. You sure you don't want us to wait for your attorney?
Just tell me.
An anonymous source provided information that ties you to the charges.
Now, do you want your attorney?
Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome Gloria Garayua!
Gloria Garayua of the hit Netflix series Reckoning is with us today. Gloria, hi, and thank you so much for being here with us.
Hi, guys.
Gloria, it's really great having you here today to talk about you and your journey in the entertainment industry. So let's jump right in. So how did your journey into acting and performing begin for you?
When I was a kid, I wanted to be an actress, but I also wanted to be an astronaut, a ballerina, a princess, and the ruler of the world, right? So as time went on, I had to really decide what I wanted to do. And being a doctor was actually always at the forefront of my mind. So it wasn't until I was 17 that I decided to really go for acting. And then I decided to major in acting in college, and that's how that happened. Yeah.
That's when the bug hit.
Well, the bug had hit, but I decided to just really learn it. I think I was nervous. I wasn't as free-spirited as Rachelle. Like, Rachelle decided to be an actress very, very young. I didn't have that encouraging surrounding, and I didn't have the self-confidence. So I thought, well, I better go study this to prove that there is theory and technique and practice that can be implemented. And through doing that, I actually worked on my self-confidence, self-esteem, and by booking, that obviously promoted my confidence and self-esteem. And then I thought, I might be good at this. You know?
You definitely are. I mean, you've done so much, and you are a really talented actress. So let's talk a little bit about your touring, because you've done quite the amount of touring theater. You've done one national tour and then 2 regional tours. So how was that overall experiencing, touring around and performing at, many different venues?
You guys read my bio. Yes. So I did theater before I did TV and film. I actually never wanted to do TV and film. I would have been happy staying in theater. So when I toured, it was an amazing experience. I didn't get my equity card until I moved to Los Angeles, believe it or not. So I'm originally from New York, where a lot of love and attention is given to live theater. And so that was my what was paramount to me at the time, was doing theater. But there's not a lot of money in theater. So when I moved to LA and tried film and it worked, I obviously stuck with it because I was able to pay bills, that kind of thing. But I've never given up theater. I still have done things here and there. But as far as the touring, it was fun. It was fun to see the country. Let's call it what it is. It was also hard. You wake up very early, you put in hours, and then you're in a bus to the next place. It's not glamorous. You're eating in diners, cafes. The healthiest thing we found on the road was Subway and Boston Market, because most of the country isn't healthy. A lot of what was out there was just fast food, fried stuff. So it wasn't always very glamorous to tour. But I did a lot of youth audiences theater. So it was always awesome to see the smiles on the kids' faces. We would do post-production discussions as well. So after the show, we would always get back on stage and talk to the audiences. And we would answer questions like how to become an actor, what's it like to be an actor. And it was just a joy. I did some of that. I did one national tour and I did a few regional tours. It's a lot of work.
I share that with you because I've done touring theater, and I did actually educational theater and touring to those schools and doing those shows in front of those young faces. Yeah, it really does. It's such a different experience, and it's fun. But yeah, it can be grueling for sure.
It can be grueling. And then we didn't have our own crew. So I was doing these tours non-equity because I was not equity till I got here. So we had to be our own crew. So I chose lighting. I've always really liked lights. Before officially becoming an actress, I thought about being a light designer. So I actually learned drafting and the computer systems and everything about stage lighting, and I really liked it. In fact, I did 2 internships doing master electrician work. The first one, I was like, guys, please make me an assistant because I don't really know what I'm doing. So I learned from the master electrician. Then when I actually got to be a master electrician, I said to them again, I really don't know what I'm doing, so you have to help me. And they did, and I did great, but I realized that wasn't the world for me. It was a lot of climbing scaffoldings, carrying these very heavy lights, a lot of problem solving with electrical stuff that I thought, just, this isn't my dream. It was a lot of like beer drinking, cigarette smoking, beer bellied older men, and here I was. And I just thought, I don't belong in this world.
This isn't for me.
Yeah, this isn't for me.
So funny. That's actually really unique that you almost considered, doing lighting.
I did. I even interviewed at the Public because I wanted real New York City experience to put that on my resume. I didn't think I wanted the hustle of the auditions. I didn't think I wanted a non-stable career, but that's what I chose. I chose hustling instead, and I don't regret it because every day's been different and acting's given me great opportunities. So I went the right path.
And after all, you can always play a part of a light technician or light designer, right?
And an astronaut and a ballerina, too.
Exactly.
And a ruler of the world.
And a ruler of the world.
We know, and as everybody knows now, after your theater touring, you came back to New York City, and then you were doing a lot of local theater, right? But then you were cast in a play at the Old Globe Theater in San Diego. So how was that transition for you? Were you excited? Were you planning to move to West Coast anyway?
That's a great question. No, I was not planning to move to the West Coast. In fact, because I am from the Bronx, and anyone from New York City hardly leaves. Like, New York is its own little world. We have so much that if you go somewhere, it's for a vacation, but you always come home because New York has so much to offer, right? So I never saw myself leaving New York, and the idea of beaches was not important to me. I hardly saw a beach growing up. I'm from the inner city, and it just wasn't important to me. And palm trees just felt so foreign. So no. But when I got the job at the Old Globe, I was already hustling for about 4 years in New York City. And even though I had booked theater and a few independent films here and there, I thought, let me try the West Coast. I'm young, I'm single, I don't have any kids. This is the time to do this. So I flew out, did the show. Great experience. And while I was in San Diego, which is where the Old Globe is, I thought, I'm not going back home, I'm gonna buy a car, and I could only afford like a rinky-dinky car. And I drove up, I got myself a house sitting gig for 3 months, which without that, I definitely would not have been able to survive in LA. It is so expensive here, and it's more expensive now than it was back then. But back then, I definitely couldn't have afforded it. So I was able to just, watch this person's house and take care of their dog and live there for free for 3 months. That bought me some time to just get whatever work I could and accumulate some money in the bank and make a living. And it was during that time that I booked Fun with Dick and Jane, actually. Yeah, so it all happened very quickly, and I really like my story of how I began out here because it was hard in the beginning. Oh my God, I was just talking to my best friend about this. In the very beginning, I didn't have any money for anything. So I remember boiling eggs and having a hard-boiled egg for lunch when I first moved to LA. I'd go to Trader Joe's and buy like one of those prepackaged sushi things for like $2.99, and that would be dinner. You just make it work. I would skip breakfast. That's just how it was in the very beginning. I didn't even have a bed. So when I moved into my own place, I was just renting a room in a house, and I slept on the floor for a long time. This is how I hustled in the beginning. But I had my headshots in order, and I had everything I needed online. I had the money for that, right? Because that was the precedent. And then I got my agent, which was the focus. And once I got my agent, the very first audition she sent me on, Every Actor in the World's About to Hate Me, I booked. And that was Fun with Dick and Jane.
That's
amazing. It took a while to get paid because it's not like you get a paycheck right away. But once I got a paycheck, I just became human. I bought a bed, I bought bedding, I bought like dishes, you know, like just living. People forget that it's not all glamorous. There's a beginning. So that was the beginning for me. And I worked on that movie for, well, I think my scenes took about 4 months to shoot, but they went on. I mean, we don't really shoot this way anymore. This was before the recession. They went on for a total of 9 months.
Oh, wow.
But again, that was before the recession. So lots of millions of dollars went into that. I think I only had a few pickup shots in like the 8th or 9th month. And then we had our wrap party. And then the premiere was a few months after that. So that was a big deal. And after the recession, I've never seen anything like that except for the big blockbusters. But there's not as many of those, right?
Right.
No one has the money for that. Yeah.
Well, they're all going into TV, so.
Right, because this is the new golden era of TV. It's amazing what kind of content we have now.
Exactly.
We have so many platforms to be able to view things on that there should be no reason why me and my friends are out of work except coronavirus. But once that's over.
Right. Yeah. Floodgates will come in. Well, you know, it's the life of an actor, as we all know. And it's one of those things where we could all write a book on our first time experiences and just what we went through, whose couch we slept on, and just all those things. But with that said, we all remember our firsts, you know, our first big, like, Hollywood type bookings also. And Fun with Dick and Jane being your first big Hollywood style booking. What was your overall feeling and overall reaction when you found out you booked it?
It was really cool how it happened. I actually took a job selling car warranties over the phone. That's how desperate I was for money. And I was not selling any. I was such a bad salesperson. And I was doing really, really bad financially. And I had this audition for the movie, but you know, with movies, it takes a long time before you hear back that you booked it. So I think it had been a full month since I had auditioned for it. Here I am sitting in my day job. My shift is almost over. I haven't sold a single car warranty. And my agent calls. And I'm like, well, I don't care anymore because, you know, my boss would get mad if I left my station. I'm like, I'm just going to go take my agent's call. I haven't sold anything and my shift is almost over. So let me just leave and take this call. And that's when she said that I got the job. And I was in the hallway. And when she said that, I kind of lost my balance. I almost fell over because I had never heard that kind of money said to me before. And I almost said, they don't have to pay me that much. I'll do it. And then I thought, shut up.
Don't say that. Yeah.
Just shut up. So it was awesome. And I took the next month or so to wrap my brain around the fact that I was going to work with Jim Carrey. Because I thought, God, I don't want to show up on set and freeze because he's such a huge, famous artist, right? Yeah. So I just visualized it. I just meditated every day until it was time, and I met him, and it wasn't scary. He was very nice, and everyone else was very nice. And then I felt like part of the team, and I was asked to improvise, and I'm like, I can do this. I know I can do this. And I just had to calm myself down a lot because these new experiences can be very intimidating, you know? But got through it. And then, you know, as the career goes on, there's a bunch of new firsts. So that was the second job I had during that audition time. Oh my God, this other first job that I had when I actually had the audition, I lied in this business interview and I got the job of the vice president's assistant to a sports merchandising company. And I just bullshitted my way through that entire interview because I was desperate for money. And the day the audition came, I came up with some cockamamie excuse of why I had to leave the office for so long because the job was in Woodland Hills and the audition was in Wilshire Boulevard. Oh. And of course I needed like a 2-hour lunch. So I just came up with some like medical reason that I needed to see a specialist or something like that. I go down there, do the audition, come back. And again, a month passed. And by then I had that car warranty job. So yeah. Yeah, the beginning was a hustle.
I mean, and after that, the ball just kept rolling, and you ended up booking your second audition as a guest star on the hit ABC series NYPD Blue. And of course, after that, you've booked guest star roles on so many series, including NCIS LA, SWAT, Criminal Minds, The Good Doctor, and Snowfall, just to name a really small list. And you've also had major recurring roles on shows like Grey's Anatomy and How to Get Away with Murder. Yeah. So what would you say is your most memorable experience on set?
There's been so many. I still go back to this one that no one knows of. It was called 3 Pounds. It was a pilot I booked for CBS, and I was just a guest star on it. But I played a blind woman. So it was really cool to have to work with that impediment. And also, the show starred Stanley Tucci, which at the time, I had such a crush on him.
Stanley Tucci's
character. What?
Stanley Tucci's awesome.
Yeah. And this is before Devil Wears Prada, because I thought he was so adorable in that movie. So I had to touch his face, because in the show, my character was post-op from like eye cancer. And so I was doing a follow-up with him. And so they put me in a dark room because that's all my eyes could handle. And I had to touch his face, because by touching his face, I could see him, right? And I just was like, oh my God, I'm touching Stanley Tucci's face. So that to me still remains my most awesome memory, even though there's been.
So while crushing on Stanley Tucci, you booked a role where you had to work with Stanley Tucci, not only work with Stanley Tucci, but you got to touch his face.
But feel him up? Yeah. No.
Feel him up, basically, yeah.
No, who I got to feel up was Shamar Moore on SWAT. So I wasn't scripted to, but at the end of my scene, the director was like, hug him. And I was like, what? Hug him. I said, okay. And so then they were like, hold the last moment a little longer, because they were gonna pan camera to something else.
You're like, done.
Holding. Yeah, and yeah, it's not 6-pack abs with that man. It's like 10. Okay, so I held on. It was a hard day at work.
The actor problems.
All right.
Normal day at the office.
Yeah, I know, right? People have so many problems, and look at us bitching about our Hollywood issues.
Yeah.
Who we're paid to fill up.
Yeah, I've never had a romantic character, so these are my moments to shine, okay? Don't take them away, Rico.
Hey, you do what you got to do.
Our guest today is Gloria Garayua of the hit Netflix series Reckoning. This is the Lightning Hour, and we'll be right back.
Sorry for the ambush. Detective Ramos.
Oh.
This is my partner, Detective Serrato.
Mike.
Leo Doyle.
We've been talking to Gretchen's teachers and close friends. We just have a few questions.
Of course, please. Yeah, sit down.
I was looking forward to seeing this woman tonight. She's special. Piercings in all the right places.
And what about this special woman that you moved from LA to be with?
Love is fleeting.
I know you saw someone. Maybe that girl's killer.
Let's start from the top, Edgar, okay? You saw someone in the woods.
Yes.
Detective Serrato here?
Yes.
With that dead girl?
Definitely. It was you. With that girl. And that blue devil.
Nice pad for a dealer.
Once you start selling to CEOs and housewives, you better polish up their shopping experience. Police!
Who's this? I'll call for backup.
Police! We're entering!
We should wait for backup, Mike. We should wait for fucking animal control.
Her daughter's dead. She's grieving.
And you think you can save her from that?
Is there a problem here, Ramos?
I'm on your side, Mike. But come on, work with me here. If we're gonna make it as partners, we better start trusting each other. So Tori's got quite the stash of overprescribed pain meds. One doctor for every day of the week. Split him with you.
Jesus Christ, what the hell, Ramos?
What? A Vicodin and a few margaritas on a Saturday night every now and then? You have an issue with that?
I don't know how you guys do things down there in LA, but up here we don't go around stealing other people's meds, overprescribed or not.
Fair enough. Was Gretchen getting the pills she was selling from you?
Jesus Christ.
She was, wasn't she?
Fine, 1 or 2, here or there, big deal.
What the hell, Emilio?
And what kind of arrangement did you have? Did you cut her in 50-50?
Of course, we split it. It wasn't some scumbag drug dealer just trying to take advantage of her.
Philip Zellman? Is that what you're talking about? Was Gretchen gonna start selling for him? Leave you and your 1 or 2 pill operation behind?
She wasn't leaving me behind, trust me. Gretchen wouldn't do that.
You asshole. You swore to me you weren't! Wait, were you and Gretchen sleeping together? You piece of shit!
Hey, don't call me that! I'm out of here.
Emilio, I need you to put your hands where I can see them and turn around. Tori, I need you to take your son and leave the room. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Oliver, come here, my God.
Let Tori and the boy leave the room, Emilio. This is between you and me.
You know, a lot of deputies find it hard taking a life, no matter what they tell you.
And I think someone should throw me a friggin' parade. We gave Tori closure. Think about Beth Stanley's sister. She's got nothing. No body, no closure, nothing.
We're going to talk about the latest Netflix series, Reckoning, starring yourself with Aiden Young and Sandra Mel. Now, you play Detective Sid Ramos. So what is The Reckoning, or what is Reckoning about, and what can you tell us about your character?
Reckoning is a story about a serial killer, so it's a crime, mystery, thriller drama. I play Detective Sid Ramos, and it's a cool story because my character moves from Los Angeles to Northern California, and I join this team. And the team has been fighting a serial killer for some time now, and when I show up, the killings start again. So of course they assign me on that case because that's the hottest case at that time. So I get assigned to that. And what I didn't know prior to getting on the case was that Aiden Young's character, my detective partner, was obsessed with the case, almost detrimentally, before I got on board. So part of my character's struggle is doing a good job while trying to jump over the obstacles that my partner is presenting. So that's what the story is about. But yeah, from what I've heard, I'm like the only character that doesn't have any serious dark problems. But I think that I would have in season 2. I do remember the writer telling me that I was escaping a dark past in LA. So I think they would have further explored that in a later season, right. Which I don't know that we're going to have the opportunity to do, unfortunately. Yeah. Not because of Corona, I just don't think there was ever a plan for a season 2. So my hope was once it came out on Netflix that there would be a cult following and that one day I'll get a call saying, they need you back in Australia pronto.
You never know. You never know.
Right?
One can dream.
You know how this business is. You just never know.
Well, it's true. And you know, Aiden has a big following because of Rectify, and of course Sam has a big following because of True Blood. And then people know me from Grey's Anatomy and How to Get Away with Murder. So there is a star-studded cast. Even the first of all the actors were Australian except for me, Sam, and Aiden. Everyone else is Australian. And a lot of those guys have huge resumes. So it's not so unlikely, right? One can dream.
When you found out that you were shooting in Australia, I bet you were just as surprised as we were when we read that it was filmed in Australia. So how did it feel getting to spend a couple of months there? And do you know why that they shot it in Australia as opposed to Northern California where it's set?
Yeah, what I heard from the writer was he wrote this a long time ago. I think it took him 8 years to pitch it. There was interest and there were a couple of false starts, but it had never gone to the fruition that it did with Sony Pictures. So when Sony took it, they said they were going to shoot all 10 episodes. So of course, you know, he signed on the dotted line.
Right.
And they explained to him that all of their production companies were full. So the only one that had room on their slate was down in Australia. And he said, if we shot this now, which we want to, could you adapt the script so that it works? And he said, well, yeah, I can make it work. So of course, I mean, what writer would say no to that opportunity? So most of our shots were interior. There were a few car shots that have a green screen, which is movie magic. I mean, I didn't know this, so I definitely learned how some things are shot. I really didn't know that when you're in a car scene, crew members rock the car. And then there's a green screen, and they just put all that stuff in later. So we're really good actors because none of that stuff was existing.
Oh my gosh.
And then of course we had interior shots in the detective bullpen and then inside a church and people's homes. So the only exterior shots were by a river. So that could have been anywhere. Yeah, so that's how that was able to work. And then as far as me getting the news of Australia, this is a story I haven't told a lot of people. So in it was May of 2018, I went to Australia on vacation. And it was my first time. I went to Brisbane and came back. And I was only back 4 days or so when my agent said, you have an audition for something. And if you book it, you would go back to Australia. And we had a good laugh. And then I booked it. So I got a call. So I auditioned on a Friday and I got the call Monday saying, you're back. And I had just gotten over my jet lag. So I'm like, are you kidding? I'm going back to Australia. This is awesome. So I was told I'd be on a plane in a week. So to pack your life and plan your house situation so that you can be gone for 4 months, that's no joke.
No.
Turns out they couldn't get my visa that fast. So I actually had a little extra time, but
wow.
I was on borrowed time and I didn't know when I had to leave. So I just had to make sure I was ready for them to say, okay, we got your visa, get on a plane. So it was hard. But you know, when you get a dream like this, a dream come true, you just have all this energy. So I'd get up at 5 and I'd make phone calls and I'd send emails. I had to find someone to house sit and watch the cats and,
right.
you know, and then I had to like pay rent a few months in advance. And I'm just like, this is a lot of work, but it's all worth it because it's going towards my dream. So I have to admit that of all my jobs, that was the one that I felt like was a dream come true. Because to work on set every single day for that length of time, and you really feel like an actor. You know, often when you book co-stars or guest stars, you're on set sometimes, or you're on set with all these lulls in between, right? So like maybe you worked 2 months ago and you don't work again for another few months, and that just doesn't make you feel like an actor, right? So to be on set every single day, that was definitely a dream come true.
It's what we all strive to be and do, because
yeah, and it was the first time a guest star ever asked me for a photo, and I was like, oh my god. I've often been the guest star who's like, can I have a picture with you, you know? And it was so cool. But I was always very grateful and appreciative of it and never took a moment for granted. I mean, I literally enjoyed every second.
Can you tell us, do you know why Detective Serrato is counting when he's brushing his teeth? Do you have any information about
that? They were trying to establish that he has OCD.
That's what it was. We were discussing like that it should say something about his personality and like that's
and the other thing that was connected to the OCD was the case. So Detective Serrato didn't have episodes of OCD unless he was stressed. And the case, because he was obsessed with it in his past, it was now coming back to haunt him. And so the symptoms of that were coming back. And one example was the counting of the teeth brushing. But also, if you notice, his character is very structured in how he does everything, how things are on his desk. So if you go back and you look at his desk versus my character's desk, he would know if a sliver of gum was gone. You know, my character didn't care. Yeah, it's a really interesting question.
Yeah, because I when I was watching it, I wrote to them and I said, did you notice the sounds he made when he was counting? And if you put on subtitles, it's numbers. And so we were trying to figure out what all.
Exactly.
Wow, you guys. Well, that was the first. I've never been asked that before. So that's a cool question. Yeah.
This is the lightning hour.
Gloria, you do such a great job on the show. It's really wonderful to watch your work. I was really moved by your scene at the beach and that moment that you had. I really felt that moment with you. I really loved watching that scene. And I was just wondering, as an actor, what are some of the elements that you bring to make your character humane, especially in terms of those moments?
Well, what I did was I kept the log of the character and what she was going through for every episode, because we shot it out of order and it was very confusing. And also we shot in these blocks of time where we did 3 episodes at a time. Oh, wow. So I had to keep track of where she was at in the story. And because it's a crime thriller, serial killer show, there's just so many subplots, and we're trying to figure out, who's the killer. And of course, nothing was being revealed to us before it was time to shoot. So we'd get our scripts about a week in advance of that block. And that's when we had our opportunity to ask the writer a bunch of questions. And I always had questions because, you have to keep the audiences at the edge of their seats. So some things were confusing, right? And then there's what's called red herrings, where a writer will purposely put in something to kind of deter the audience and think it's something else. So I was getting confused with those. I'm like, am I the killer now? What's going on, right? So when we got to that scene where I was the one, when we got to that scene, damn, I threw it away. I'm not good at this. You can't trust me with secrets. I trained for it. Yeah. So physically trained for it and also mentally trained for it. I had to be prepared. And it was fun, but it was scary. But it was cool. And then I even had a stunt double, which I'd never had a stunt double before. And there was one scene where I did use her, actually. So I don't know if anyone would even know the difference, but it was a long shot. So she just had to run across the beach. You'll see. Another story I wanted to share about that was when I first got booked, I was told that I wasn't going to be in all 10 episodes. Yeah, I was just supposed to be in the first 7, I think it was. Yeah, that's right, the first 7. Honestly, I think the writer liked me. We had a really good connection. I'm just going to say that. It's my theory because, I don't know, I thought my character brought stuff to the last 3 episodes, but I wasn't supposed to be in them originally. So you can't manipulate relationships like that. It has to either be there or not, but the chemistry between him and I was nice. It helps be a likable person.
Now, I know that you said that you do not know if there will be a second season, and you talked about how the writer hinted at a dark past. If you could do a second season, what do you hope will happen for your character and with the show?
I would want to see more of her personal side. There was only one episode where we got to see Sid's apartment, and I really enjoyed it because I thought we have to see that these characters are multi-layered. Just because someone's a detective doesn't mean they fit the cliche of this tough person. No, there's a lot of psychology behind being a detective, and you carry those burdens home with you. So I really wanted to see that. It's like I said, there was only one episode where you got to see me in my apartment, and I'll give you guys a little behind the scenes drama. So it turns out that when we shot that, I had conjunctivitis. So I had pink eye.
Oh.
Yeah, and I was like, God damn, why does it have to happen in the episode, like when they see me at home? So of course, we had to have a serious conversation about how we're going to handle hair and makeup, because it's very, very contagious. Yeah. And it turns out I had the non-contagious kind, but we didn't know that until after this was shot, because there's all conjunctivitises look alike. The allergic one, viral and bacterial, they all look alike. They have the same symptoms. So you don't know until you try different drops and see the results. So I tried the virus one first. I tried the bacteria one second, and then I tried the allergy one third, and then I got better. But that was after we shot that episode. So I was really, really sad. And I said to the director, I was like, can you please promise me that you'll go in and make my eyes white? Because I don't want to see my eyes pink when this comes out on Netflix. And he's like, we will. So some graphic artist got paid a lot of money to freeze frame by frame and whiten my eyes.
Oh my God.
That is so cool.
Whole episode. And it hurts. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever had it, but it really hurts the muscles around the eyes. So for me to even look up at the other actor, I was like, oh, it hurts to look at you. Yeah, it was tough. So if you go back and see those episodes, I'm not looking very pretty. And it's funny because the director said, it's okay. You just look like you just woke up, and this is your house, so maybe you took a nap. So he was trying to make me feel better. But yeah, it was rough to work under those circumstances. And then I was quarantined. So when it was lunchtime, I wasn't allowed to sit with anyone. I had to be in my trailer. Food was brought to me. And whenever hair and makeup was done, they wore, I don't know if they wore masks, but I know they wore gloves. and everything was disposable. So after they did my hair and makeup, they threw things out. I just felt so ugly. It was not fun. No one wants to touch me. And then I couldn't even get a glass of water on my own. They were like, no, we'll get it for you. They didn't want me touching crap.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well,
I bet you just felt like you were in a box of how much you could do. Like, I need water.
Yeah, it was rough.
Nice.
But you know what? It could have been worse. So it's all good. Yeah, and I also wear contacts. So when you have conjunctivitis, you can't put on your contacts. So I had my glasses in between takes so that I could, see the world. But imagine acting and you can't even see your scene partner.
Oh.
And then my scene partner, Aiden, like I talked to him. I was like, dude, do you feel comfortable shooting with me today? And he's like, it's fine. I got kids. Like he's like, I've had it all. I'm like, okay. So there were only a few shots where they had us together, but most of the shots, if you go back and look at that scene, we were socially distanced. It was just over the shoulder shots, except for when we were at the table looking at the chart, then we had to be together. But Aiden is so much taller than me. It was still like 3 feet apart.
It was natural social distancing.
Right.
Gloria, I have a question of supreme importance. On the set of Reckoning, how are the craft services?
I was like, I think this has to do with food. How did I know you? I feel your energy, Sasha. You know what? Okay, so even though it's an American show, because it got shot in Australia, this part's confusing. They honored the SAG contract for the American actors, but everyone else was working under an Australian contract, and Australian productions don't have craft. They do have tea time. So we were offered coffee and tea and what they call biscuits, our cookies, right? That's it. But they really made the meals special. So I didn't gain any weight because we were just having wholesome, delicious meals. I wasn't snacking in between scenes. And I really looked forward to lunchtime. And everyone sits with each other. There's no like, only gonna sit with the stars, crew sits with crew. No, the crew and I sat together all the time. So that's how craft was. It didn't exist. And their coffee, by the way, is mostly, like anyone who's traveled to Australia knows what I'm talking about. It's espresso. Everything's espresso based. So if you're an American going down there, there's no such thing as a regular cup of coffee. In fact, I did ask for that when I first moved there. And the looks you get is like, you're the biggest idiot on earth, right? So you have to request a specific drink, a flat white, a cappuccino, and a double espresso. So for me, you know what I did? Oh my God, you guys, I actually packed Trader Joe's instant coffee from where I live and brought it with me. And because I switched to tea mostly when I was there, because that's what Australians drink, that instant thing lasted the whole 4 months that I was there. And when I wanted a cup of coffee, I made myself a cup of coffee, like a big cup of coffee. Yeah.
Gloria, you mentioned earlier that you had some days off, some time to play and explore and do things, an online date. And you've been to Australia before. So what do you find most fascinating about Australia?
They have a lot of birds. They have ibises. I hope I'm saying that right. It's this funny looking bird that I think is left over from the reptilian dinosaur days. Like, I got used to them. At first, I was like, why is everyone ignoring this creature on the street? And they would say to me, well, because they consider them trash bin birds because they just eat from the trash. And after 4 months, I ignored them too because they become part of the fabric of the environment and you just don't see them. It took me a long time to get used to the cockatoos. Yeah, cockatoos.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because they're so loud. The first time I heard one, I ducked because I thought something was falling. And then I realized, no, they live free. Like here in the States, we're just used to seeing them in cages at the zoo. But yeah, they live free in the trees there. So they're everywhere. I had just a few self-tapes that I had to do as an actor when I was there. And I would do mine in the patio because it had the best lighting. So there was not a self-tape I did without a cockatoo in the background. That's what they sound like. They're crazy. And then, of course, there's the beautiful animals that we don't have. love. The Tasmanian devil, you can only see that in a zoo, or of course, if you're like out in the outback. And unfortunately, they're practically an endangered species right now. They get a really bad infection around their eyes, and it's really hard to get them and cure them. So a lot of them die of this infection. I also just became incredibly obsessed with sea mammals when I was in Australia, because just seeing how much more attention Australians pay to recycling and taking care of the environment and reusing things and not abusing single-use disposable utensils and cups. That was amazing and so eye-opening to me that when I came back, I was really grossed out at how we Americans do single-use items all the time and throw them away. And now because of coronavirus, a lot more is happening with single-use items. So there's lots of gloves, you know, we're all throwing away our gloves or our masks or single-use utensils and plates. And I just I love the environment and I hate that we're destroying it. So that's another thing that Australia really opened my eyes to, was just animal life and how we have to take care of our nature. Remember, Australia had a huge fire last year and it took months to get that under control. And I just thought about, I know I'm silly, but I thought about the kangaroos and the koalas that are out in the open that were being killed by fire. And then sure enough, I saw footage of a koala with his little paw wrapped. They managed to save a few, you know, and you don't, until you see this, you don't think about it, right? But God, to see a kangaroo, if you left them out in the wild, they grow to 6 feet. And, you know, they get on their hind legs and then they kick. That's how they protect their young. Yeah. So they're so cool. I love seeing wildlife out there. And I never really made it, I would say, to the outback, but I did do lots of hiking trips. And it's just so beautiful. I would go back in a heartbeat. I wanted to stay, but you know, my visa was going to expire. And then also as an actor, I don't know how I would work down there. I'd have to have an Australian accent if I really wanted to work and be considered one of the competitive local actors. Right. And I cannot do an Australian accent. And why would they hire an American who is imitating Australia when they have plenty of Australians?
You realize during all of what you're saying, you're still manifesting. You're still throwing it out there. Chances are you're going back for some reason.
That's, you know, it's funny you say that because I keep thinking about it, especially now with coronavirus. It's you know, most of my students are online and most auditions are becoming virtual. I could literally do this anywhere. Why do I need to be here in LA where it's so expensive, right? I mean, Australia's expensive too, don't get me wrong, especially if I chose Sydney. But yeah, it's a whole different culture out there.
Yeah, it sounds great. Sounds amazing. I've never been, but yeah, I would love to go someday. This is the Lightning Hour, and our guest today is Gloria Garayua. We'll be right back.
Wait, if there's a chance we can save Marco's leg, we should at least discuss this some more. That's what he'd want.
He'd want to live. He'd want to have a life.
I know him. He'd want to take the chance.
I will never forgive myself if Marco died because I made a reckless decision.
Whose decision is this?
And does he have a healthcare proxy?
I don't know what that is.
Then when the accident happened, were you on the way to your wedding or on the way back?
We were headed to the wedding.
Marco's parents are the next of kin. They decide.
When we met?
I don't care about your stories. I don't care that you met rock climbing or kayaking or whatever. I just
We met in rehab. He never wanted you to know. He's an addict. He replaced one addiction for another one, a healthier one, but he needs...
What? He needs to wakeboard or he'll drink himself to death? This is ridiculous.
No, it's not. We talked about it a lot. It's pretty much all you do in rehab. Marco has clarity for the first time in his life. He knows what makes him happy. He knows his weaknesses. He's not as strong as you think. And that's okay, but...
Marco cheated on you. It was about a month ago. He was overwhelmed with the wedding and the planning. He ran into an ex-girlfriend. It only happened once.
You're lying. You're upset that he had secrets from you, so...
No, she's not lying.
Welcome back. So, Gloria, on occasion, you also coach young actors. I know this because I have studied with you. I started studying with you in 2013. So, what is one approach that you use in teaching your students, and what would be the main advice you would give to a young actor?
Well, I've evolved as a teacher and my strategies have changed over time. But the one that I'm most proud of now is that I have to assess the student first and just see what's special about them and what they would contribute to a project, because you can't blindly coach an actor and try to fit them into a particular character, because so many people audition for these characters, and you take the general characteristics of what the writer wrote and then add a touch of who you are. So I have to get to know the actors a little bit, and not all actors are open to revealing themselves. And of course I work with different ages, so newer actors are harder to crack because they don't feel comfortable just talking about themselves or just talking, depending on the age and their experience socializing, I suppose. But once I feel like I have an idea of what's special about someone, then I want to bring that into the material. So if someone allows themselves to be open enough, then I could really help them. When people are closed off, I think it's a little harder, and then we end up just creating a cookie cutter version of the character, which I'm never proud of, right? But another key thing is that you have to constantly train, because if you're not constantly training, you can't expect magic to happen in a 30-minute coaching session. So if I've never met this particular actor and they hire me for 30 minutes, and I quickly see that they lack comedic training, and yet we're doing a 17-page multicam comedy audition, that you're expecting miracles to happen in 30 minutes. So that's why I always say, keep your training going, because then when you show up for a coaching, when I'm using specific vocabulary, you're not lost. And we can have the same conversation and you can give the results that I'm asking for because you've been training. So that's to answer your question about how I work with people. And then as far as advice, yes, my biggest advice is always read out loud, because people read in their heads, and so you do great acting here, but then when it's time to speak, you're not connecting brain and mouth, and so you stutter, you hesitate, you don't deliver the line with the intention that you want. So reading out loud is so important, and frankly, just talking to other human beings, making sure that you can communicate your intentions clearly. If you can't do it in real life, how the heck are you going to do it on camera, I can't believe I coached you in 2013.
Yeah, the first time was ever at that Scene Fiesta thing years ago.
Yes, I remember. I knew there was a showcase that I directed you in. Wow. And then you were always just in the picture. Like I would see you at red carpets, or I would see you at other publicity events. And I'm like, Rachelle is up to stuff. What's Rachelle up to? And then, you just look at you. You're just amazing. And you were in Young Artist Awards, presenting and also winning. And
Thank you.
And you write stuff, direct stuff. That's so cool.
Are there any projects you are working on right now? And do you have anything on deck once things eventually open up?
Just some voiceover. So voiceover has obviously exploded for every actor, I think, or every actor, even if they weren't doing it, are trying to get into it now. I'm really not a tech person, so I haven't even been able to set it up in my own home. So if any of you have tips, come over with your mask.
Watch episode 3 of The Lightning Hour.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. So I am recurring on these 2 Japanese animations that get dubbed into English. And so it's really exciting. But I told him, I was like, I think I'll have to wait till all this is over. I want to go into the studio. And sure enough, through our great union and the efforts put together with these studios, they've come up with ways for us to go into the studio that are safe. And think about it, voiceover artists never even have to communicate with another human being in person. You just need a headphone set and a computer, and they can instruct you. So, when I walk into the studio, I bring my own pen to sign in. I wear my mask as I walk in. There's a map there that says where my booth is located. There's no one at the reception desk. I just see where they've assigned me. I go straight back there. They've sanitized everything prior to my arrival. That's part of the SAG contract. They have to literally wipe every piece of hardware down. and software. Like the computer has to be wiped down as well. The seats have to be wiped down. There's also a sanitizing fan, like medical grade sanitizing air filter in there, and they purposely space the actors out, I think 30 minutes or an hour apart, so that there's time to do this cleaning process after every actor goes in. So it's really safe. They don't give you water anymore. You got to bring your own water. And then the only human being there is behind a glass in the other room. And we have the session runner on deck. So the human being is the sound engineer. Session runner or director will be on headphones. And so that's kind of how it's working. Yeah, so that's the only thing I got going on. And then I'm just trying to do personal little projects, like because I teach a lot, but then when coronavirus started, I was teaching extra, just because people needed something to do at home, right? So everyone wanted to pick up their acting lessons. So I was teaching a lot in the beginning, and now I'm trying to do spring quarantine cleaning. So there's that, and also just like little things I wanted to do that I wasn't doing before. I have a list, so I'm going through it slowly. You know, like I'm trying to give stuff away. I love giving stuff away to the homeless, so I have like a suitcase full of stuff that I want to give away. And just sleeping in, like I'm actually more relaxed now. Yeah. You know? So we have to enjoy this while we can.
Right, exactly.
Agreed.
It's a good side. That's, yeah, there is and we don't have to actually waste time on like driving places, because everything through Zoom and workouts, communication, whatever, shows like ours.
Yes. So I think now the biggest impediment is you have to remind yourself to get up, like get up from your desk. You can't sit so much. So I have to remind myself to walk around the block. I try to walk around the block twice, actually. Like, I don't mean twice. I mean twice in one day is what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah, to just get up and move my joints. Rachelle doesn't have to worry about that. She's still young. But us older folks, like hips start to hurt, knees start to hurt if you don't get up.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have no clue. Well, anyway, moving on.
Yeah, let's quickly move on from that.
Yeah. We're gonna switch gears a little bit, Gloria, because we have this thing that on the lightning hour that we call the lightning round, where we ask our guests the really tough questions, and you gotta answer them.
Okay.
So, are you ready?
No.
Well, you know, this
ready
is where,
or not, here they come.
This is where improv comes in. This is all part of our training. So here we go. Okay. So, Gloria, what do you like more, hiking trails or the beach?
Yeah, hiking trails.
Okay.
Do I need to expand on this, or I just answer that?
You want, but no.
Yeah, I love exercise. I really, really do. I've made exercise part of my daily routine. Yes, there are days I don't want to, but I always feel better afterwards. So if I had to choose, I love the beach now. Now I'm a beach person. I wasn't when I came from the Bronx originally, but no, I'd say hiking. Yeah. Besides, the red carpets are going to come back one day, right, Rachelle? Right. Gotta be looking good.
Yeah.
Gotta be red.
Here's another hard one. Ice cream or frozen yogurt, and what flavor?
Frozen yogurt. I actually hate ice cream. I'm the only human being on earth. I don't like cream. I mean, I guess I could do yogurt sometimes if stuff is in it, but I've never been an ice cream person unless it's really hot. Then, or if I'm in Europe, because gelato is like on every corner, then I kind of have to give in because it's like 115 degrees, right, in the summer in Europe. So frozen yogurt and always chocolate. I mean, that's not even a hard one. Give me a hard one.
All right, here's the hard one for you. When you are at home, do you walk around barefoot in slippers, or you prefer socks?
No, baby, where are they? I think I tossed them. They're here. Always flip-flops.
Oh, yeah.
Always. Listen, I'm Latina. When you have a Latina mom, this always comes in handy, right? All my Latinas out there know what I'm talking about. So this is just part of me. I don't like germs, so I keep the shoes at the door, and I have my house slippers. I even have house sneakers, so when I'm working out, those shoes haven't touched outdoors.
We got Gloria Garayua here of Grey's Anatomy, How to Get Away with Murder, and currently as Detective Ramos in the hit Netflix series, Reckoning. She was with us today. Gloria, thank you so much for spending time with us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
You guys are awesome.
Thank you. Now, can you tell everyone where they can find you on social media?
Oh, sure. I'll have to spell my last name. Okay, so I am Gloria, Garayua, pretty much everywhere. You guys are so professional. This was a wonderful interview.
Thank you. Well, thank
So
you.
much.
Appreciate it.
So much fun chatting with you and so nice to meet you.
Likewise, Sasha, Rico, Rachelle, thank you.
Thank
you. Gloria, this was awesome.
Okay.
This is so much fun.
Bye.
All right. Yeah, bye-bye. This was the Lightning Hour. I'm Rico E Anderson.
I'm Rachelle Henry.
And I'm Sasha Kerbel.
Don't forget to support us by giving this video a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and click that little bell sign so you'll get notifications when we post new shows.
Be sure to follow us on social media to learn more about the Lightning Hour and us, your 3 hosts. You will find the link in the description box below.
Don't forget to post your questions for us in the comment section below, as well as on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We will be answering them in future episodes. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next Friday, same time, same place. Have a great weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I don't talk till I see Bonnie.
She didn't answer her phone.
It's the middle of the night.
And this is urgent.
Was he working as an investigator for you?
I killed him. Frank, JFK, and Elvis. What else do you want to know?
I wouldn't say it was normal.
So it was odd that she called you at 8:52 p.m. the night of the fire?
She wanted me to do some research.
And did Keating ask you to do anything else for her that night?
Forgive me if my mind is a little foggy on some of the details.
I'm in no rush. Take your time.
Thanks.
I do want to know why you went back to the legal clinic after talking to Professor Keating at the scene of the fire. We have records showing that you swiped into the clinic at 10:53 p.m. Was it because Professor Keating asked you to go do something for her? Clear her phone of suspicious material, for example?
Of course not.
Checked every street cam in a 10-mile radius. We can't locate Delfino's car in any of them.
So it's possible they separated before Wes died.
Delfino says he drove Wes straight to Keating's house.
I don't believe that.
We have enough to charge him.
Give me more time.
What's the interest in my client's relationship with Annalise Keating?
A body was found in the woods. We got a DNA match to someone who was associated with Miss Keating. Now, you being a law student, I'm sure you know how often a woman's murder is committed by her boyfriend. You dated Rebecca Sutter, right? What did you see?
I just heard a noise coming from upstairs, and then I woke up here.
When Professor Keating called you, did she say why she wanted you at the house?
You're trying to charge her with my attempted murder, right? Annalise didn't do this.
Because you know who did?
And the sky is gray. I went for a walk on a winter's day.